After getting a second chance at life, I tore up my college acceptance letter with my own hands. I also turned down the dramatic confessions of two friends. In my previous life I chose Clara, but on our wedding day she ran away for Richard, causing my grandma who raised me to die of anger. In my moment of despair, another friend held my hand and said, "You still have me. I'll never betray you." She helped me out of the darkness but was cold after our marriage. I thought maybe she regretted us not having kids. It wasn't until a car accident that I learned the truth. She neglected my dying body to save Richard, who only had minor injuries. I died on the spot, and as my soul wandered, I discovered the truth. My life was just a part of a love game for the three of them. They had long left their wills, giving everything to Richard. And we never had kids because they paid off a doctor to have me sterilized, to prove their loyalty to Richard. Starting over, I decided to stay far away from all of them and live my own life. When I tore up the university admission letter, my homeroom teacher was shocked. "Oliver, what are you doing?" This year, our school produced 4 students headed to top universities. I was the only one who got in with a citywide top score. Not just my teacher, every teacher in the school had high hopes for me. I calmly said, "I don't want to go. I've already applied to a special research group. They promised to take good care of my grandma with professional medical staff." "Oh, that's the situation," the teacher said. "I understand your family circumstances. Just make sure to study hard for a better future to repay your grandma for raising you." I nodded. I hadn't had time to feel sad or nostalgic about my past life yet. Clara and Gina were already calling me urgently to come down. On the way, people pointed and whispered about me. Someone even tripped me on the stairs. "Bastard," they cursed. Confused, I got up with a limp. At the corner, I overheard Richard talking with 2 friends. "I did see Oliver get out of the school director's car late at night," Richard said, "but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Maybe he got into university because of his own performance." Richard stopped defending him. One said, "He's too scared to release his grades, so he must be hiding something." "Yeah, Richard," the other chimed in, "you're too kind and always get fooled by him. A cunning guy like him is capable of anything." After joining the research group, I signed a confidentiality agreement that hid my scores. Little did I know it gave Richard an excuse to spread rumors about me. And my 2 friends knew how hard I studied for my grandma. Yet they still chose to believe Richard. I chuckled bitterly, comforting myself that it didn't matter. Once I officially entered the research group, my identity would be hidden. Then I could finally cut ties with them. No more hurtful comments. No more living a life of lies and betrayal, ending in a tragic demise. I pretended not to have heard anything and approached the 3. "So what's up?" I asked. Clara's disdain turned into a smile. "Oliver, great. We can be in the same school again. All your hard work finally paid off." Gina smiled too. "We can keep being around you. 4 years isn't enough. It's gotta be a lifetime." A few guys passing by looked at me with envy, but I felt nothing inside. In my past life, the 4 of us went to the same college. I worked hard for a bright future, engaged in school activities, but in the end my scholarships and research opportunities were secretly manipulated and given to Richard. Rumors spread that I had inappropriate relations with school leaders. I was bullied and isolated for 4 years. Back then, those 2 always promised to stand by my side to protect me. Only after my death did I know that they were behind it all. Throughout those sleepless nights and tears, they used my misery to please their beloved Richard. Seeing me silent, Richard sarcastically said, "Lucky you, like a little prince. 2 friends always loyal to you. Unlike me, if it weren't for Oliver's help, I couldn't afford school." Hearing this, the 2 friends were all concerned for Richard. "Don't say that. Richard once sympathized, you're handsome and talented. Great things are headed your way. Once you graduate, I'll have my dad get you a manager position." "No, Richard, come to my company. I'll give you a higher post and salary. Whatever you want." Hearing them bicker over Richard left me feeling bitter. We've known each other for so long, but such promises and affection were never for me. Fake love can't compare to genuine affection. As I was about to leave, Clara noticed something was off. "Oliver, don't get the wrong idea," she said. Feeling guilty. "We care about Richard because he's your friend." Gina ruffled my hair like she used to when we were kids. "Don't overthink it. We finally finished exams. Let's take a drive. We've got gifts for you." I nodded, not refusing. I was leaving soon. I wanted one last look at the city we grew up in. In the garage, Clara and Gina eagerly let Richard sit shotgun. Richard looked at me, pretending to be in a tough spot. "Isn't Oliver the only one who can sit in your passenger seat? If I sit there, won't your brother get mad?" Clara quickly pushed Richard into the passenger seat. "He doesn't deserve it, he won't get mad. He's got the best temper." Gina shot Clara an annoyed look. slammed the car door with a face full of displeasure. It wasn't until the car was about to start that they realized I wasn't in the car. They rolled down the window, exchanging awkward glances. They wanted to explain but couldn't find the right words. "It's fine, I'll drive my own car." Hearing me say that, both sighed in relief yet seemed puzzled by my unusual behavior. I rolled up my window, not wanting to listen to their false excuses. But as I drove, the scenery brought back a lot of unforgettable memories. The three of us grew up together. Both families wanted me as a son-in-law. Unfortunately, my parents passed away in an accident, leaving only my grandma and me in the Vashi family. Just the two of us supported a shaky household surrounded by dangers. So, I worked hard to take on my family's responsibilities early. Meanwhile, Richard came from a poor background and was an outcast at school. When I found out he was also an orphan, I felt sorry for him and became friends with him, even supporting his education financially. Encouraged him to tough things out with me, but he took my kindness for pity. He envied what I had and manipulated my two friends, and together they ruined my life. By the time I arrived, they were feeling uneasy about what happened earlier. They busily came over, opening doors and grabbing my bag. "Oliver, check this place out. It's the park we used to hang out at as kids. We bought it and now it's our own secret base." Gina nodded. "I've planted your favorite yellow roses here. By next year, this place will be a sea of beautiful roses. The four of us can cruise here watching the stars." Their faces were bright, full of dreams for the future. But I just stared at the land silently. This was indeed our childhood secret place, holding our happy memories. But I never liked yellow roses. I'm allergic to all pollen. Lost in thought, I watched fireworks light up the sky above, spelling out my name in brilliant colors. In this dreamy setting, Clara took out a jade pendant, offering it to me. "Oliver, this is my family heirloom. My parents wanted it given to their future son-in-law. I've wanted to give it to you for a long time. Finally got the chance today. Oliver, be with me, okay? Don't you remember when you almost drowned as a kid? It was me who saved you, risking my life. I can give you my life. What's a little jade pendant compared to that?" In my past life, I was fooled by their seemingly deep bond. I foolishly thought being childhood friends meant a happy ending. Grandma would have your family for support. I only learned the truth on the day I died. That even deep emotions can be faked. Just as I was about to refuse, Richard spoke up. "Oliver, why did you tell people I was spreading rumors about you? Now everyone's hating on me." He shoved his phone in my face. There were hundreds of comments on the school website calling me shameless, saying I'd slept my way into college. The few defending me were twisted by Richard into accusations against himself. Gina snatched the phone, furious. "Oliver, how could you do this? Even if you're a mess yourself, why blame Richard?" Clara, calmer, still gave me a questioning look. I held back my feelings. "I didn't. If you don't believe me, check it out yourself." Neither listened. They were busy comforting Richard. "Richard, don't worry. I'll get the PR department on this. Sweet treats will cheer you up. Let's get you some ice cream." They flanked Richard, walking away without even a glance back at me. I took a deep breath, staring at the fireworks' fading ashes. In the face of life and death, these miseries seemed tiny. At least I was alive, with new days and a future ahead. I wanted to drive home, then remembered Gina had my bag. I had to follow the three of them. Passing by some trees, I heard Gina's impatient voice. "Richard, how long do we have to keep up this act? Oliver's such a wild card, who knows what infections he might have. Oliver's so clueless. Can't even tell antique from fake. No wonder he got seduced by some older woman. He's no match to be my family's son-in-law. Richard, only you deserve the real family jade pendant." Richard looked pitifully at them. "Oliver may have done lots of bad things, but he was good to me. I can't just abandon him. If you don't do what I say, I won't talk to you anymore." Hearing that, these two high and mighty people panicked. Immediately apologizing to Richard, practically trampling over me to put him on a pedestal. A friendship nurtured over 10 years couldn't compare to a few words from Richard. Holding back tears, I turned away. In the endless night, I trudged home weary. By the time I arrived, my twisted ankle was so swollen it was unrecognizable. Grandma was heartbroken, rushing to apply ointment. Not wanting her to worry, I told her about my school situation. She was both surprised and delighted. "My Oliver has made something of himself. Grandma's old now. You're the only one left to carry on our family." I nodded with tears in my eyes. After all these years, there's finally some good news in the family. Grandma's definitely going to throw a big party to celebrate. Her smiling face was exactly how I remember from my last life when she sent me off to get married. She was so happy, thinking I'd found a good match. But then Clara ran away at the wedding, and that shock killed her right there. Now that I have another chance, I won't let history repeat itself. Grandma's getting old, so I took care of all the party details. When two friends heard the news, they came by to help and even brought my favorite childhood strawberry cake to apologize. Oliver, you've not replied for days. Are you still mad about what happened? We didn't blame you on purpose, we just didn't want you to go down the wrong path. Reputation is important for people like us. I didn't forgive them, but I let them stay and help. In my past life, they owed me too much. Grudges aren't easily forgotten. In this life, I just want to never see them again. After Mom and Dad passed, our family fell apart. But now, I'm proving to everyone that my family has a future and won't be pushed around anymore. That's why Grandma's taking this party so seriously. On the day of the party, the room was filled with the city's elite. Richard strolled in wearing a custom suit, trailing behind my two friends. He looked around the luxurious hall with jealousy. Oliver's lucky, but despite your fancy background and good grades, I can still make your life miserable. Just then, the screen displayed my photos one after another. They were all of me naked in bed with different women. Isn't that Oliver? Wow, he's playing around. Kids without parental guidance just don't turn out well. No wonder they said he slept his way through college. Looks like it's true. His family's done for letting their son turn into a gigolo. I went through this kind of mockery twice in my past life. Once at my wedding, Clara ran off for Richard, causing Grandma's death. And once more at my funeral. Before my body was even buried, Gina was proposing to Richard right there, making my life one big joke. Remembering the past, I looked at Grandma quickly. She was breathing heavily, her eyes red while staring at the photos. My Oliver wouldn't do such things. Seeing her like that, my heart sank. I begged the people around to help take Grandma to the hospital, but they all stepped back, fearful of associating with someone like me. In the end, my two friends stepped forward through the crowd. Clara drove while Gina and I supported Grandma, rushing her to the hospital. Thank goodness we got there in time, or she might not have made it. I thanked the doctor quickly, then stayed by Grandma's bedside to check the surveillance. As expected, I saw Richard's figure. He'd switched the photos deliberately. They were all fake, digitally created. I grabbed the footage to report to the police, but my friends stopped me. It was just a joke. Is it worth making such a big deal? Do you know what you'd do to Richard by reporting this? I froze, then couldn't hold back any longer and shouted, "What about me? My grandma nearly died. Doesn't he care about ruining me and my family?" Gina immediately stood in front of Richard and shoved me hard. Enough, Oliver. Your grandma's fine, right? And blame only sticks if there's truth to it. You must have done something shameful for these rumors to spread. Those words didn't hurt like they used to. With a numb heart, I pushed them away. Clara grabbed my wrist, her expression cryptic. Oliver, don't bother. You know neither of our families will let any lawyer take this case. When I refused to let go, Clara tightened her grip. Don't forget, your grandma's still in the hospital. With one word, I could stop her treatment. I'll count to 3. If you don't hand over those videos, I'll pull the plug. Right in front of me, she dialed the number 32. I'm sorry. I dropped to my knees, tears streaming down my face. I can't take that chance with Grandma's life. Gina snatched my phone and smashed it to pieces. The breaking shards cut my skin. She looked at me coldly. As long as we're here, you'll never hurt Richard. I sat there broken until they left and the pain set in. Years of resentment finally hit and I cried uncontrollably. Promises from when we were young were empty, friendships were fake. Only the hurt was real. I don't know how long it took, but I managed to get myself back to the hospital, like a soulless shell. I was scared Clara or Gina might do something, so I stayed with Grandma, never leaving her side for days. During that time, only Richard messaged me constantly. My friends took him traveling, bungee jumping, doing everything we'd promised to do together. I blocked his number. When I looked up, I saw 2 well-dressed women at Grandma's bedside. They saluted. Oliver, were medics sent by the organization. Don't worry. We'll ensure your grandma's safe and healthy when you're not here. That's when I realized it was time to go. I went home. Got rid of everything related to my 2 friends. Then I left, not looking back, and got on a plane. Clara and Gina were never my support. I've got to rely on myself for Grandma and for a brighter future for my family. After their trip, the school term was about to start. Clara and Gina had the time of their lives, but something nagged at their conscience. What they did with Richard went too far. Oliver was already struggling. So young and already lost his parents. Now he's just got an old, frail grandma. He got led astray, but you can't entirely blame him. After all, they were friends, grew up together, had a bond. Whatever Oliver did as his sister, it's on us to give him more guidance. With that in mind, they bought a ton of gifts for Oliver on their way home. When they got home, they took all sorts of supplements to visit his grandma at the hospital, but they got turned away. The old lady's got a special status, and they didn't want random people disturbing her rest. Being called random people hurt Clara and Gina. They grew up with Oliver. They were like family even if they weren't by blood. How could they accept being dismissed like that? Gina was ready to throw a punch. Clara frowned slightly and stopped her. As an heir, she quickly realized the person in front of them was no ordinary person. "Where's Oliver? Let him come and tell us if we're really outsiders," Clara demanded, but the person just coldly replied no comment. They were shown the door, feeling defeated. Gina cursed in frustration, saying, "Oliver's attitude's just getting worse," wondering where he picked up this bad behavior. "We spoiled him too much. Now look at him. Let's go check his old place," Clara suggested, feeling uneasy. It was like a piece of her heart was suddenly missing and it felt unsettling. They drove to the old house. The place was pitch black, not a soul around. Even Gina, who was full of rage earlier, couldn't stay still. Like they did when they were kids, they climbed over the wall and into the place. They found their way to Oliver's room, only to see it empty and covered in a thin layer of dust. How could this happen? "Where's Oliver?" Clara was in disbelief looking at it all. "Where are the things I gave him? Oliver treasured those more than anything. The gifts I gave are all gone too. And the photos of us three, our travel diaries, everything's missing." They exchanged worried glances, a sense of unease filling every corner of their hearts. Where could he have gone? His family's been fallen for so long. Nobody would dare take him in. He must be hiding out of anger. Once we find him, I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind. He's acting like a spoiled brat with no right to do so. They started calling around, asking their friends for Oliver's whereabouts. They even had the family bodyguard search everywhere. From sunset till sunrise, they searched the whole city, but no sign of Oliver. His ID, bank cards, all useless now. The only person who might know where Oliver was they couldn't reach. Oliver, who seemed to always be by their side no matter what, was now completely vanished. It was like he'd turned into thin air, leaving no trace. Clara and Gina were overwhelmed with fear and sorrow, so much so that even meeting with Richard didn't interest them. Where could Oliver have gone? Is he mad at us? Will he ever forgive us? The room was silent with no response. The bright, smart little boy never to be seen again. After the plane ride, it took a long car trip to finally reach the destination. My teacher was really welcoming when I arrived. "Finally you're here. When we heard you were considering other places, we were heartbroken. Can't let such a talent slip by. Thank you, teacher. I'll study hard, won't let you down," I said, bowing. "From your records, you've had an interest in this field from a young age. Why even consider other schools?" Caught off guard. I didn't know how to respond at first. That was Clara and Gina's dream. The three of us grew up together. From our first words to being all grown up, hardly spending a day apart. We made a promise we'd all attend the same university, never to be separated. But then Richard came along and took my place. Clara and Gina used their family connections to get in through special admissions. They invested who knows how much to make sure Richard got in too. I never thought they'd throw me under the bus, spreading rumors that I used my looks to secure my spot. Thinking back on that, I gave a bitter smile. Young and naive, I trusted the wrong people and made wrong choices. Now, given a second chance, I'm determined not to repeat those mistakes. Heaven's given me another shot, and I will make the most of it and live up to my potential. My teacher, pleased, patted my back. Good, that's the spirit. At first, I was worried if a young master like you could handle the tough life here, but seeing your resolve, I'm confident. The future belongs to you young folks. No hardship compares to my past. At least my grandma's still alive now. I'm not wasting my life on two people who aren't worth it. With that, I threw myself into my studies, ignoring everything else. One day, just leaving the lab, I ran into Clara and Gina. I rubbed my eyes, thinking the late nights were messing with my vision. But there they were, calling my name clear as day. My mentor quietly warned me, "Oliver'd be careful with these two." I heard they invested $20 million just to be shown around the lab. Gina, unhappy with the mentor's presence, pulled me aside. "Can't keep yourself out of trouble. Flirting around wherever you go. If you're so desperate to get hitched, you might as well come to me." My mentor wanted to defend me, but knowing Gina's temper all too well, I signaled her to leave, not wanting her to get involved. Clara still kept a bit of composure. She looked at me with a complicated expression. "Oliver, why did you leave without a word? Why change your plans all of a sudden? Why throw away the things we gave you? Why leave us?" A barrage of questions made my head hurt. I rubbed my temples, my tone was harsh. "Clara, what right do you have to question me? What are you to me?" "I am." Her hand hung in midair, unsure of how to answer. In this life, I never accepted her confession, never loved her intensely. In my heart, she was nothing. As for the little bit of friendship, it was worn out by repeated hurt. The usually defiant Gina put aside her pride. She lowered her head slightly. Oliver, what we did last time was wrong, but there was no need to be so heartless. Do you know how long we've been looking for you? They told me that after I left, they were almost driven mad with worry. In the end, they had no choice but to kneel in front of my grandma, pressing her for my whereabouts. Grandma, who was kind and had watched them grow up like her own granddaughters, couldn't bear to see them like that. She told them of my choice. This time I didn't choose either of them. Instead, I chose a whole new life. So they tracked me here using all their resources, trying everything, spending millions just for one more meeting with me. But inside I felt nothing. I took out my phone and played the recording from the day they confessed to Richard. Then with a blank face I looked at the two of them. Stop pretending, the game is over. If you like Richard, go after him. Don't use my life to fulfill your grand idea of love. I have my own life to live, and I hope you won't bother me again. Hearing this, the once dominant duo went pale. They were speechless for ages. Only the recording on my phone played over and over again. Gina moved to snatch my phone, but I stepped back, coldly watching her. This is a research center. There are security people here. Don't think you can smash my phone to destroy evidence. And don't think you can use my grandma to threaten me. Mentioning my grandma brought a sharp pain to my heart. Grandma treated them so well. Over the years, she cared for them like her own granddaughters. Summer fruit teas, winter woolen scarves. Since childhood, all gifts were prepared in threes. But as for them, they threatened me with grandma's life when I was most vulnerable and in need of help. I can't forgive and I won't. There was a flicker of pain on Clara's solemn face. Oliver, it's not what you think. That day I just wanted to scare you a bit. Grandma is our family too. Why would I harm her? Yeah, Oliver, remember we were the ones who helped get Grandma to the hospital. Gina looked anxious but glanced around and didn't dare approach. I sneered. I considered that fact. And that's why I didn't want to hold it against you, but my patience ends here. Clara, Gina, I'm not that orphan you bullied anymore. I won't let anyone hurt me or my grandma again. I have a long road ahead. No time or energy to waste on people who don't matter. They tried to say more, but the research center security stepped in. Sorry, ma'am, this interview time is up. Please leave. Don't disturb our work. Reluctantly, they had to leave. After walking a bit, Clara turned to glance back at me. Oliver, we grew up together. I don't believe your heart can be so cold that you wouldn't even consider past friendships. We did wrong, but we'll show our sincerity. Our feelings for you haven't wavered. Gina nodded emphatically. One day you'll forgive us. Hearing these words now just made me laugh. In past and present lives, their words were always the same. They used our childhood bonds to manipulate me. Tricked me into marrying them, fooled me into an empty life, wasting my years away. I don't understand, I grew up with them. Why didn't they trust me but hurt me over someone new like Richard? I also don't understand, if they loved Richard, why are they trying to act like they love me now? I don't know if what they're saying is sincere, or if it's just another part of their plan with Richard. But I know this, I won't have anything to do with them in the future. I don't want to see them again. But I underestimated their persistence. In the following days, the food at the research center improved significantly. All the meals were my favorites. Every noon, a strawberry cake was delivered right on time. Everyone from leaders to cleaning staff got a piece. The senior colleague couldn't help but sigh. Oliver, are those two trying to win you over? They're really generous. Envy them? What's there to envy in choosing this path? Who cares about material gifts? Exactly. I'm no longer that boy who could be swayed by a cake or a sweet word. Now I have a bright and promising future, a beautiful life. Clara and Gina are just insignificant in the long span of my life. But the less I cared, the more effort they put in. A stream of gifts came in, making it unbearable for me. In the end, it was my mentor who stepped in to put an end to the farce. I enjoyed a period of calm, but when it was time to go home for vacation, encountering them couldn't be avoided. This time when we parted, both of them looked more worn out than before. One was a high and mighty heir, the other a rebellious rich girl. Now they both appeared haggard, nothing like their former spirited selves. I was helping Grandma walk and get some sun in the yard. Just then they came to me with a teary-eyed Richard in tow. Oliver, we have something to tell you, they said. I knew you didn't want to see us. But this is the last time. If we don't get this off our chests, we won't rest easy. I didn't want to deal with them, but Grandma patted my hand. Go ahead. Some things can't be avoided. Whatever the outcome, it has to end. With a sigh, I led the three of them into the living room. As soon as Clara and Gina entered, they kneeled down. Their faces were full of sorrow, like they were engulfed in endless pain. Oliver, the night after you left, we both had the same dream. In the dream, we each did something bad to you. The dream felt so real as if it had actually happened. We suddenly understood why you left and why you're so cold to us. I didn't respond. The two of them in front of me were already in tears. Meanwhile, Richard rushed towards me, sobbing loudly. Oliver, please help me out here, will ya? I didn't mean to mess up your relationship. I haven't done anything wrong. I just liked the two sisters and wanted to repay your kindness. Shut up. Gina yanked Richard and slapped him hard. She was shaking all over with anger. It's all because of you stirring things up that we're in this mess with Oliver now. We saw the diary you hid under the table. You didn't like us at all. You deliberately got close to us because you were jealous of Oliver and wanted to hurt him through us. Through their story, I learned a lot about things that had puzzled me for 2 lives. Richard, through me, had figured out everything Clara and Gina liked. He crafted himself into someone they would like, sometimes being elusive, at other times acting cute. Like a cat playing with mice, he toyed with them both. Seeing no way to explain, Richard didn't bother pretending anymore. He looked at the two of them, eyes red, and shouted hysterically, I did it on purpose, so what? Why does he have everything from birth while I have to rely on his charity to survive? I look good too, why are you all head over heels for him? I was unwilling to accept it, I just couldn't accept it. I was going to destroy him with my own hands. Show him that the love he prides himself on is just trash I granted him. Gina couldn't take it anymore and kicked Richard. On the way, I always felt people's eyes on me pointing fingers, but this time it was more severe. I quickly intervened. Enough. If you want drama, take it outside. Don't pretend in front of me. Oliver, I'm sorry. I was just too dumb, deceived by him, completely forgetting our past, forgetting how good you were. The two of them looked at me in despair, bursting into tears together. Clara kept mumbling, my feelings for you never changed. But you're so smart, so outstanding. I wasn't sure I could win you over, so I foolishly believed those words. They thought by doing this they could pull me into their mess. They believed they could keep me with them forever. Unfortunately, things don't always go as planned. I struggled through the muck, grew wings, and flew far away. They couldn't hold me down nor catch up to me. Richard ended up in the hospital, disfigured, and dropped out. Clara and Gina faced repercussions. Using my teachers, I pressured their families to keep them from appearing in front of me again. They might bully the Oliver with no parents, but they couldn't bully the tenacious, rising me. The day I returned to the research center, the sun was bright. I had no idea what lay ahead for those three. All I knew was that my path forward was radiant.